Good morning. It's nice to see so many folks here on the last day of the conference. Usually you're either sitting there talking to yourself or there's a big echo in the room, but looks like we have a good crowd on hand. The big plus too for our presenters is that we have a very nice crowd to listen to their very important thoughts and comments, which they came a long way to share with us. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our first presenter this morning. And when I first looked at the program and I looked at Dr. Ching's title, something rang a bell in my mind with the acronym that she has, SCOR, because I'm a disciple of total quality management. As it turns out, Dr. Ching's research and other articles that she's had presented center around the use of total quality management principles as they apply to organizations. And in fact, besides the topic that she will be presenting today, she has had two other I consider important articles because, again, I'm a disciple of total quality management and its applications throughout not just industry but in organizations. Other articles that she has written on the topic are Meeting Customers' Requirements with ISO Auditing, Quality Management System Performance, and Organizational Cultural Assessment, which appeared in this past May's African Journal of Business Management. Also, another important article that she had authored is Using Six Sigma, SIPOC for Customer Satisfaction Measurement, which was in the International Journal of Six Sigma and Competitive Advantage. So, a little bit of background on Dr. Ching. Dr. Shirley Young Mo Ching is a professor of management at Heng Seng Management College in Hong Kong. She received her Bachelor of Arts from Seneca College and her Master of Arts from City University in Hong Kong. And her DBA is from Macau Asian International University in Hong Kong, I believe. So, without further ado, I introduce to you Dr. Ching. Thank you.
Hello. So thanks everyone. I know today is the last day of the conference and we still have quite a lot, the number of the participants here. So I think we can have a good sharing on strategic partnership. And actually this is the focus I mentioned quite many times in the past 2 days. So the first thing I just distribute some questionnaire on this side is about this area. So if you have time, you can fill it in. And for the participant on this area, if you are interested, you can exchange the email with me later on. Okay, so my topic here is about ASAIHL, ISO, and also supply chain management model for SCOR. And the main purpose is we want to highlight the element for strategic partnership, and this is quite important under globalization in the whole world. So may I ask a few questions before I start my presentation? Any one of you have background knowledge on ASAIHL? Would you please put up your hand? Good. About ISO, International Organization for Standardization? Not too many. And for teaching supply chain management? Okay, so maybe I can further elaborate on these three areas and how they're going to incorporate into building partners with some kind of strategy for the institute development. So the few highlight of the information here will be ASAIHL is the academic accreditation standard, the requirement in the academic side. For ISO has been adopted in the commercial world in different kind of industries, construction, services, and education. And this is the basic requirement, okay, for getting 9001. And SCOR is the kind of management model in supply chain management. So the reason why I combine the three things into building a strategic partnership is we are working in the academic, okay? So we need to know the criteria for ASSP, and that will help the institute to have a higher recognition. And for ASAIHL, because of the principle and also the plan do check that they are helpful for building up the strategic and also systematic thinking to link up all the elements when you identify the partner, how you're going to assess the performance of the partners. And the SCOR actually will be from supply to plan, source your suppliers or source your institute that you want to work on, and also to make and deliver your curriculum. So that actually the model will help us to have some kind of holistic picture on building the ideas for a strategic partner. So under globalization, we know we want to create values, okay, for the students, for the stakeholder, and also for the community. So globalization, we want to shorten the distance. We want everything to be standardized, so everyone will be working on the same thing, right? And all the time we focus on effectiveness and also for the strategic planning. So that will be the TQM, the basic principle. All the time for the institute here, we're looking for improvement. So that's why you participant, the conference here, maybe you try to have a platform to identify the stakeholder, the partner that you want to work together for the benefit of your student to increase their exposure and employability. So under globalization, we have a few concepts here, 1 to 5. So which one do you think will be very important under globalization? How about Chinda? I try to have more interaction, okay? Item 1 to 5. Which one do you think will be important for the educational sector under globalization? Quality, yeah, good, okay. So the reason why I arranged the order like this, number one, globalization is the trend right now. So that's why we come from all over the world, because we want to learn from each other to have some kind of standard, okay. But the thing is, we need to define the requirement, the expectation, the need of our stakeholder. Say, for example, the government, the accreditation body, okay, and also the parents, the student, and also the industry leaders. What they want our graduate, okay, to have that kind of ability to do the best for the world. So quality is important. But before quality, we need to know how, okay, or what area we want to increase the value so that we can minimize the defects, okay, and minimize some kind of thing that is no good for the community. So for the industry level, okay, I'm going to use the model SCOR, that's from supply chain. So the reason why I adopt supply chain management model into educational sector is they're quite similar, okay? We produce good quality student. Of course, we cannot make sure that we're going to mold the student. But the thing is, we try to use the concept manufacture is the school. We develop our curriculum. We develop the faculty members, the teaching expertise, research expertise. And then all these are the input to the student, okay? So we are doing the manufacturing process in our institute. And then the wholesaler, reseller will be just like when you find a partner in Vietnam, in China, we have the agent to represent your institute to deliver the curriculum. So the wholesaler here will be like a middleman to pass over all our professional curriculum to the rest of the world. And then the rest of the retailer and the customer will be our end user for the customer. So that's why I'm using the model to put all the elements into the model and help us to have a holistic picture of develop and also to measure the performance of strategic partners, okay, that you are working on. So under supply chain management, all the time we need to have a lot of partners. The partners can be at the back to support you, so that will be like purchasing raw materials. And also the partners can be in front of you, help you to distribute, okay, to export maybe your curriculum. So when you evaluate the supplier, we have a few dimensions. So 1 to 5, Dr. Ninette, what do you think in apply to supply chain management, the concept into education? Which one will be quite similar and also very important to assess the partners? The supplier can be our strategic partners. supply knowledge. It also can be the faculty members that you are going to have some visiting professor because you hire them, right? So 1 to 5, which one you think will be very important in educational sector?
I think either 3 or 4 mutual cooperation and supply involved in it.
Thank you, yeah. So I think 3 and 4. And I think it will be initiated from number 5 first. When we cooperate, have the collaboration, all the time is we want to have our strength and then work with another institute to compensate each other. Maybe your lack of the exchange experience or internship or whatever, then you look for somebody they have the strength to compensate with your weaknesses. So all the time, the collaboration will be starting from a problem, or we don't say problem, we say issue, or we say the need, or the goals, the target that you want to achieve. So that will be start from number 5. And then you do number 3, cooperation, regular, constant communication, understand each other, especially cultural aspect that mentioned by Jerry on day 1, okay? So after we understand about the criteria to evaluate partners, the next one, we need to know the attribute in supply chain. The attribute here can be borrowed into educational sector, especially item number 1, 2, and 5. So my interpretation will be number 1. We want our program to be reliable. It can be repeatable from one country to the other one, okay? Say for example, you have a good program. You want to export to another countries. So can it be applied into another country that they have their own cultural characteristics? Can you make sure that the student can learn the same learning outcomes in the other country? So we try to be reliable, okay? For number 1, it's very important. The attribute also can be borrowed in education sector. And then 2, responsiveness. The thing is, the world keep on changing, dynamic. Say for example, Japan, they have the earthquake. So now they talk about the global citizenship. The people, how they handle the earthquake, okay? It's so good as an example, as a case study for the rest of the world, how we train up our students to have the citizenship. So responsiveness will be you have the issues. How we are going to make up the issues as a case study and train up the student to have a kind of skill set or the mindset that they can cater and also to handle the issues, the problems that they are going to face in the future world. So the curriculum has to be responsive to the dynamic changing world, if you agree on that. And item 5, asset management applying to supply chain will be like physical asset, the maintenance of machinery, okay, RFID center. However, in educational sector, we don't put much emphasis on machinery. We focus on human capital. So human capital will be the professor, okay? They have professional knowledge in different kind of discipline. So how you're going to manage the asset, the people that you have, so that you can develop better for your faculty members, for your students. So these are the characteristics in supply chain management and also can be borrowed into educational sector. So we finished with the first part, which is about some of the literature, the key concept in supply chain management. Now we move on to next one will be ISO. So ISO here we have 8 principles. The one item here, a continuous improvement get overlap. Sorry for that. Okay, items 6 to 8 they are the same. Altogether 8 principles. And this 8 principle is very important in the educational sector. And most of the distinguished speakers mentioned about leadership, commitment, okay, for globalization, for cultural sensitivity, all those. It has to be top down, so leadership. And among the principles, the most important thing will be item 5 and 6. So system will be built on different kind of processes. The same thing for building strategic partner. So once you have the planning, the objective, the goals from your school dean or whatever, the second step will be you're going to source the partner in all over the world to see who can help you to export the curriculum to match the need of both, okay, side of the partner university. So you source and then you make. Make can be tailor-made, the kind of curriculum we make flexible to your partner institute because of the cultural aspect, because of the economic performance, because of the pricing issue, all those we make, okay? So system will be to link up all the different processes. The process from planning, the process from making, the process of delivering, the process of manufacturing, and also to measure the performance of your partners. And the most important thing is continuous improvement, okay? So all the time we want to learn how to make the curriculum, our student, and also the institute to be appealing to the rest of the world. Now, next one, we are going to talk about ASSB. So altogether, for ASSB, we have 21 standards, and among the 21 standards can be classified under the 5 categories here. So my main focus for the paper will be for item 1 and 2. The reason is strategic, you have the strategy, okay, in the coming 3 or 5 years plan. So the strategy can be on enhancing the image of the institute. The strategy can be to produce good quality students. The strategy can be to link up a lot of partner institutes so that you can have more exposure in the rest of the world. So strategy in ASSB is up to the institute how they're going to define and interpret. But we need to have an intention, to have an aim. Otherwise, the activity that you are going to do in a daily basis will be out of focus. So strategy management is very important. And the strategy all the time will be linked up to mission, okay? The mission will be driven by the school, and the mission has to be periodically updated, reviewed with the participation from schooling and different departments so that making the mission more realistic and can be helpful for improvement of the institute. So item 1 and 2 are very important under CSB, and they can drive the institute to grow and to become better. So any question for the first part? This is the key concept, the key area for my research area. Now, we move on to the second part. The second part will be about some of the idea of the structure of my research here. So, item 1 and 2, I talk about this. And after that, we need to make a kind of comparison between ASSB academic requirements because they guide us how to develop good program, okay, and also increase recognition. For ISO, they can guide our thinking and also to make the development more holistic and also systematic. After the comparison, I can see some similarities and also differences. So based on the finding in the first step, and then I will going to apply into the SCOR model how to measure and how to link up all the components to develop and measure the strategic partner performance. So next part, okay, will be about outlining the key element in different standards and then the differences and also apply into the SCOR model. So the findings number 1, after the comparison, we can see that ASSB compared with ISO, even though one is for academic, one will be for commercial, but they have some kind of similarities. The thing is, you can see here, mission. ASSB, okay? For ISO, even though they don't call the name mission, they would some kind of terminology call it quality objective, quality policy. So all these will be provided direction for the faculty members how to develop the department, develop the program, okay? So you need to have some kind of direction, okay? So they are the same. And the similar area will be top management commitment, and also understand the requirement when you produce the product, okay? The product for us will be the program or maybe the student. So all these will be the similarities, okay? We need to have planning. We need to have commitment. We need to have measurement, okay? With all the processes. Now come to the differences when we try to compare ASSB and ISO standard and the SCOR. Now you can see that in academic world, they seldom talk about supplier, okay? In ISO, because it is a link process, one will be linked up to the other one. Linkage is very important also in educational sector. However, they seldom use supplier, evaluation, okay, the performance. When you make the thing, input, how you are going to guarantee that the thing that you're going to input into your process, that they have quality and help you to produce quality students. So that will be the differences after the comparison. Now, next part will come to the questionnaire, that's part. So that's why I keep on collecting more data in all over the world. So in my research, I have interviewed about 7 people, and these 7 people, they are having the title for president, vice president, pro-vice chancellor, and also they are the management level with experience in ASSB, in internationalization, in globalization. So the second part will be a content analysis to analyze about the textual information that I've collected and try to highlight, so how are we going to measure and identify the performance of our strategic partners. So the interview altogether will be 7, and the 7 interviews spreading around USA, UK, Hong Kong, Mexico, and China. And some of the institute here, they're ASSB accredited, and some of the institute, they are ISO certified, and some of the institute, they are members for ASAIHL, okay, and also the member for ASSB. So the samples, they are quite convincing, okay. Now, these are the findings, okay, after we have some literature and also with the interview result. The first part will be the literature in the past 10 years on strategic partnership. The second part of the slide will be my result from interview, okay. So for the item number 1 research area will be the criteria. So what are the criteria when we try to identify our strategic partners? So from literature, they mentioned that the stakeholder need, the interest, collaboration, university all the time need to link up with the industry to be more practical so that the knowledge can be applied into the real world. For the second part will be on my interview result. In this part, they focus on the size. If you can take a look. When you look for a partner, if your institute calling the name of college, just like the other lady yesterday evening mentioned about college, it gives a sense of secondary school or high school image to others. So when you look for your partner, how are you going to match each other? If you have students for 2,000, okay, are you going to look out for a partner similar size with you so that you can collaborate and work out well from each other? If you are the size big, so you partner with the one is the scale is not that big as compared with yours. So are they willing to cooperate with you? So based on the interview result, size is quite important and also compatibility. So these 2 things are not covered in the past 10 years for the literature. So you can see the differences and also generate some insights when you compare past 10 years for the literature with the reality, the practice, okay, that we are facing right now, the challenging from the interviewees. That is the first part on criteria, how to select the partners. And then second part will be when I interview and I ask them, what will be the focus area that you look for your partners? You focus to develop curriculum, you focus on teaching quality, or you focus on research, okay? So for literature, okay, review, they mention about the focus area will be on the economic goals. Because we want to develop the graduate to have some kind of attributes, employability, so that you can help the economic development, especially after 2008 for the tsunami, the recession. So especially we want our students to generate better economic goals, okay? For the interview result that I can get here about the focus area will be, they want the program to be accredited. That is very important. Using the principle for TQM and also Six Sigma, we want to increase value and reduce cost. So how we can reduce cost? So try to think about if you develop to generate, to produce a new program, you need to go through a lot of material gathering, you need to get it approved, you need to go accreditation. So all these will be a long journey and it costs time, energy, and money. If you work with your partner and then you can have the program which is already accredited and then go into your institute, so that will be saving money and time, instead have your own. But in the long run, still you need to have the ownership of your program, you still need to develop. But most of the interviewees that I interviewed, they mentioned that they want the program to be quality, to have accredited. So that will be the focus area on teaching side. All right? And another research area will be about the problems and the solutions that they're facing when they work out with their strategic partners. So in the literature, they mention about the difficulties here will be about the attitude and also the mechanism on the system area. However, compared with my interview result, most of the concern here, the problem, will be on the people. So you can see the differences here. Literature, they mention about the difficulties in strategic partner will be on the mechanism, the system, the institutional policy. However, in reality, for my interviewees, they mention about people. If, say, everyone in here, if you are the one to represent your institute to get partners, so do you have sufficient language skill? Your mindset is open? Do you have sensitivity in their cultural aspects? So most of the interviews, they mention about the people have to have that kind of knowledge in accreditation, knowledge in curriculum design, knowledge in the partner institute about the need, expectation, and of course the way how to talk and all those. Now we come to the solution. The solution, all these will be generated from my interview result. So the solution they mentioned will be on understanding on culture. So I can find out from these 3 days of the conference, it's very insightful because they mention about cultural aspect. They talk about globalization. They talk about partnership, which is very similar to my findings so far. Because without cultural understanding, even though you export your program, okay, but we need to understand how to tailor-make some areas. The delivery, the case study, maybe you need to use some kind of localized case study. The language, if the student, the language skill of English is not that high, maybe you need to have some kind of local language in between so that the understanding will be increased. So this will be the solution here for the problem that they're facing in strategic partnership. Now, after getting all this information from the past 10 years literature and also from 7 interviews, so I have a kind of model coming up. So the first part will be left-hand side. We need to understand all the requirement. The requirement coming from the government, accreditation body, okay, the student, the parents, the industry leaders, and also the partner institute. What will be the need expectation, okay? We need to do a lot of preparation and planning before you move on and start to source your partner. And then after that, in the middle will be the organization, the synthesis of all those, put it all together and to deliver like a kind of training to your faculty members, to the people working on globalization unit. And then you measure the performance of your partner, and of course we want to have some kind of desirable quality partners. But in reality, that may not be desirable, okay, because we have a lot of problems that we need to work on. So if we are not having the desirable partners, undesirable, so how are we going to make improvement? How are we going to prevent, okay, similar kind of problem happen in the future so that you can have continuous improvement in your strategic partnership, right? Now, after all those, now we consolidate and put all the components back into the SCOR model. So maybe a bit small, okay? So the SCOR model for the top level will be the planning, strategic planning. So the planning will be using my result from interview that is about cultural understanding. The planning will be to select appropriate personnel to represent your institute, that they have some kind of cultural understanding, language skill, interpersonal skill. They need to open the dialogue within very short time and identify the need, okay, of the institute, of your partner. So under the umbrella of the strategic planning, in the bottom there, we have 5 columns. So the 5 columns will be supply chain that can be borrowed into educational sector. The first part will be supplier. The supplier will be your visiting professor, it can be your outsourced partners or all those. So you need to measure and evaluate the supplier knowledge and performance. In the 3 columns in the middle here will be how you're going to produce. Make to the order. It means make to tailor-made to the need of a particular country, tailor-made to a particular institute for the curriculum. Make, and then you source and you deliver. So source, make, deliver will be the key concept in supply chain, can be borrowed when you export your curriculum, okay? On the right-hand side will be the end user, the customer. So what will be the satisfaction, okay? The good point, the quality in terms of the knowledge, attitude, skills of the attribute of the graduate that you are going to produce, okay? So left-hand side will be supplier. Right-hand side will be the end user of the customer, the student. In the middle, we're going to source, find out the good partner, make tailor-made to have some kind of flexibility, but remain rigid in the accreditation body requirement, and deliver your curriculum and try to have some kind of quality program. And down below there will be the enablers. The enablers will be my research finding about if you have a problem, so how are you going to solve the problem? So the solution area will be put into the bottom part as the enabler so that you can generate good partnership in the future. So that is the model. Is it insightful or just under your expectation? Okay, now these are the conclusion. So for the conclusion will be under strategic partner, we need to have planning, good planning from the top management, okay, from mission statement. And we need to validate mission statement. You say what are you going to do, but remember you need to measure what you have done and show to accreditation body or show to stakeholder involved that you have done something. And this is the evidence culture, okay, in the coming years. And the conclusion will be, we want to do everything benefit for the student, benefit for the stakeholder, okay? And of course, the stakeholder has to be identified first because at one time we cannot satisfy all stakeholders at the first. We need to have priority. And after that, we want to have experience to be diversified and new, okay, to our student. And then we need to have better use the allocation for the resources because under economic recession, even though in education, we're talking about cutting budget, the funding. So how are you going to reduce the financial, the input, the resources, but you can generate and maximize the output, the income, the revenue, okay, financially, okay? And the last thing will be increase the employability of your student and help your institute and to produce good quality student and help the community as a whole to have some kind of economic performance. Now the last part will be limitation. Because this one will be based on quality, okay, qualitative statistics, so we need to have more quantitative analysis. So that's why I keep on sending out the questionnaire from all over the world to collect more case study and information to make sure that the result it will be more appealing and also objective. So I think my presentation is up to here, and I think I have some kind of sharing with you. Okay, thank you very much for your time and patience. I share about your meaning about ISO application in educational sector. I'm not going to convince people to adopt ISO. I just mentioned that ISO have been used a long time in production area, but in academic side, all the time, we need to have some kind of autonomy to the educators. But the thing I just borrowed the idea from ISO will be the system thinking. How you link up, say for example, you have the process for student intake for enrollment. So after intake of student, the next process will be delivered to the teacher. So how are you going to, based on the student background, to tailor-make your curriculum, your delivery? So ISO is just only to link up the process, yeah, but not to produce or to mold, to make sure everything will be just like a production. So this one, the concept may not be applied. Thank you.
Other questions? Oh.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you for your question. Yeah, okay, thanks. The reason why I'm going to link up these criteria will be, number one, when we identify our partner, we need to have the goals, right? So the goals for ISO will be the principle for plan, do, check, act. We need to have planning stage, okay? And then for the ASSB, because these are the criteria that we need to maintain if you want the program to have quality. So that will be the input. And the participant just mentioned about input, process, output. If I'm going to use in, process, out with all those, the input will be the planning. So I'm borrowing the concept for ISO will be system thinking for the planning, plan to check in, to measure your participant, the partners, the performance. And ASSB will be in the process. When you produce the program, when you manage the program, we need to have quality. So the quality will be driven by the criteria for ASSP. So that will be the process. Now the output will be if your program get accredited. So accredited program will be the output for your process. Okay, so ISO is just a kind of thinking and guiding along that you need to have plan, do, check, and systematically to have the process linked up with the system. So altogether, ASSP will be in the process stage. You design your program. Think about the criteria that may be helpful and useful in your curriculum design. Thank you.